Hi everyone, my name is Anna Griffin. Welcome to Card Making Project 558. Today we're going to make a gorgeous Christmas card using our Anna Griffin supplies, and in particular the card making kit from 2019. Now, we used this kit a month or so back and we used it as it was out of the box. And I did say at the time that we would use it closer to Christmas and we would just step it up a notch and use a few of our items that we already have in our stash. And today's the day. I think this card is beautiful and I've only used an extra couple of items. The items that I do use, if you don't have, because they're older items, you would be able to substitute with other frames or fretwork dies that you might have in your stash, giving you a clue. Everything I do use I should put in a detailed list on my blog, so please be sure to check it out. There's always lots more photos on there as well. If you're watching on YouTube, please give me the thumbs up. You can always comment on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, you can always comment under the actual description and picture that I share. Please share with your crafty friends and in your crafty groups. And you know what? I love hearing from you. I love hearing what crafts you're making, what you're doing, whether you've taken ideas and inspiration from anything that I've created and shown you. Because it is nice to know that, you know what, I'm appreciated. At the end of the video, you're going to see my head pop up here. And for any new crafters, if you've not already subscribed, please click that and you'll be able to subscribe to get new notifications of when the videos are released. And it'd be great to have you on board. So without further ado, let's have a look at today's gorgeous Christmas card. For today's tutorial, we're going to be using the Anna Griffin. Now, I'm going to call it the ornate fretwork, and I'm probably going to get that wrong because ultimately I haven't labelled it. I've had this a long time. It's one of my most favourite dies, and I just can't for the life of me remember what it's called. We're also going to be using the Anna Griffin Treasury Mini Stamps, Dies and Words set. And we're going to be only using this particular die here. Now, this obviously could be substituted for any of the nesting dies that you might have in your stash already. We're also going to be using the card making kit from 2019 from Anna Griffin. So if you're wanting to substitute the fretwork as well with something that you might already have in your stash, please do so. This is an older item and it is just so versatile. I've used it in many a project, but Anna's had some gorgeous frame dies out and so many of them would be great to be used to substitute. So the same with the mini little frame. What's it called? It's called a corner frame. And the corner frame in a die. We're only going to be using the outside one. So again, that could be substituted for any nesting dies that you have. Just before we start, because we're using the card making kit, and in the card making kit there are some gorgeous ornate layers. Now, I think these are from the festooned die set. However, these come in the collection. I'm going to be using the silver one. So when they come, it comes attached in a sheet and you have to just punch out, and when I say punch, I don't mean punch with a punch, just unattach the inside from the actual carrier sheet that it comes in. Now, the carrier sheet that it comes in, I've kept and I've used as a template to cut out a shadow layer for our actual ornate layer, if that makes sense. You'll probably see how it makes sense when we get to it. But I just wanted to point that out. And it also would make a great stencil. You would be able to do some stencil work to shadow the die if that was your thing. So don't always throw the sections away that you have. It would also, if you're working on a bigger card, we're going to work on one of the cards from the kit that's 7 by 5 inches. But if you were working on an A4 folded in half card you could cut that out and trim it, and it would make a great insert panel. So just, you know, little tip for you. We're going to use one of the cards from the actual kit itself. Now, a few weeks ago, we made a card. I'm saying a few weeks, might be a couple of months now. We made a card from the box. So we used everything that was in the box, and I promised that we would come back and make something and add a few things to it. And that's what we're doing. However, we're not adding a great deal to it. So our base card is 7 by 5 inches. I've already added my name on the back and our project number where it says handmade. Now, even though it's from the kit, I'm still going to use my bone folder to make sure I've got that nice sharp score along the edge of the card. I'm going to use my card landscape. And for the insert, our first layer is just a piece of ivory cardstock that I've cut to 1/4 of an inch smaller than the actual card itself. I've tapped an ink pad around the edge, and the ink pad is a deep red cherry colour. It could be any ink pad that you have in your stash. Now, as you can see on the back, where I've got my flat tape, I was practising with the stenciling. And you remember how I told you about that would be great for stenciling? So I thought, oh, I'll stencil the back. But because my card is slightly smaller than the actual size of the aperture that the die comes out of from the kit, I stenciled it and then thought, no, I'm going to show you. Instead of wasting it and thinking, oh, you know, it's not big enough, I'll show you what I've done, and then you'll get an idea of how you can use it. Maybe you want to use it for corners. Maybe you're going to make a bigger card. So there's lots of different things you can do with it. But we're going to go for the plain ivory side. And I'm just going to pop that into my card in the centre and press that down. Next, I've taken one of the layers from the actual card kit. I've got flat tape on the back of it, and you can see I've cut an aperture out of the centre. Now that's where I've used the die from the mini stamps and words treasury collection. So I've just simply die cut the aperture. I'm going to position the layer on the inside of the card and press it down. There we go. Now in the kit you actually do get your inserts, but what I've done is I've die cut using the same die that I've cut the aperture with. I've die cut the sentiment from one of the inserts, and so that I know that it will fit in that aperture. I've added flat tape on the back of it, and I'm going to just pop it into the aperture that we've die cut like that. There we go, and then press it down, and that's just something a little bit different for the insert, so you can see how it fits perfectly. Now we can turn our attention to the outside. I'm just going to use my bone folder again to make sure that's still nice and sharp. Now my first layer for the outside of the card is that gorgeous fretwork die. I've used one of the silver foil layers that was in the foil cardstock collection from Anna, and it was the collection this year with the red and the gold and the ice blue in it. I've used that to die cut this gorgeous fretwork. In the centre of the fretwork die I've got flat tape, and then towards the edge, just in the corners, I've got a little bit of 3D foam. So it's going to be centred onto the card, and then the outside edges are going to be raised up. There we go. So I can press that down. Now there's lots of areas on the back of it for you to add 3D foam, but it's such a, even on its own, it's just such a beautiful die cut. Now my next layer is, if you remember, I said about the ornate layer, and when you take it out of its carrier sheet, there's lots of things you can do. I drew round some red foil through the edges of the carrier sheet to the shape of the actual fancy die cut. I've got 3D foam on the back of this, and I'm going to position this onto our card and press that down. There we go. And so then the next layer from the card kit, this again was the foil from the matte foil cardstock from Anna. Then I can add my fancy layer, my fancy die cut from the actual card making kit over the top of the red and press it down. So you see how that changes it completely. And you can see the fretwork at the back, and then our silver layer of the layer that was in the card. Next, I've got a sentiment that was in the card making kit, and instead of using it as a sticker, I've put 3D foam on the back of it, and I'm simply going to add this. Let's think. Actually, just we'll go with our extra layer. I had this on standby. So this is from the card making kit as well, and it's one of the labels that's in there. It's one of the blank labels for layering, and I've got flat tape and 3D foam on the back of it, and I'm going to position it roughly to the top of our previous layer in the centre. I was trying to work out whether we should use it or not use it. I'd kind of left it on standby, but I think we will. So now we can add our sentiment, and our sentiment can go kind of in the middle of our label. Next, I've taken 2 of the bell stickers that are also in the card making kit from 2019. Instead of using them as stickers, I've got 3D foam on the back of them, and I'm going to add them both to either side of our sentiment, and I want them to sit kind of over the edge of the sticker in the middle and kind of not, if that makes sense. So we'll add those roughly about there. Nice and symmetrical, so it's right up my alley is this card. And then finally, I've got a little, I'm saying little, it's one of the larger bows, and I'm going to add this above the sentiment, and that was on 3D foam, and that can just sit between the bells at the top, and that is our card finished. Now we've only added 2 things extra to the front: the fretwork layer at the back and the red shadow layer that we've cut out using our template that we got the ornate layer from. And how pretty does that look? And the inside, we've got enough room for our to and our from. It just looks so gorgeous, so Christmassy with the silver. And I know I'm terrible. I always use gold, but I thought I've got to make an effort and use more silver. And that just looks so pretty. Stands up perfectly, definitely going on a mantelpiece. Look at those layers. Now, a big fat mailer would probably be ideal for that. And maybe just a little bit of padding, only because of the height of the foam pads. So if your foam pads are a little bit shallower and not as deep, then you maybe wouldn't need a bigger envelope, or you could maybe put 1 or 2 of your layers on a little bit flatter. Just such a beautiful card. Please check the blog, because I'm going to take lots of photos of both inside and outside. Now it's Christmas all the way till the big day, Lots of ideas for different unique Christmas cards to use all of your Anna Griffin supplies with. So please have a look at the different projects that are available, and please give me the thumbs up and watch on YouTube, share with your crafty friends. But I would just like to say thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you next time.